Sustainable housing solutions are also critical to finding answers to the issue of security, traffic, environmental sustainability, and fiscal constraints, among other things. We have to build houses for the poor with sacred taxpayers' money. Housing is a very personal and very public crisis. In 2011, a survey by the National Housing Authority showed that there were 1.5 million settler families in the country, 52% of whom were living in major areas, mostly outside Metro Manila. Preliminary figures gathered by HADSI in 2015 from local shelter plans of local government units show that the ISFs have increased to 2.2 million. This despite the 1 million housing units subsidized by the government since 2010. From 2011 to 2016, the total housing backlog could reach 5.7 million, a result of accumulated need and future or recurrent need. If we divide the projected backlog of 5.7 million by the number of days in the 6 years that is given to us, you will find that we will need to build 2,602 homes per day in the next 6 years. And the clock is already ticking. Let me state the obvious. The problem we are faced with is urgent, huge, and difficult. The housing crisis is indeed a ticking time bomb. The only way we can solve it is together. That is why your presence here gives us much hope. We must work with haste. But the worst thing that we can do is to move fast in the wrong direction. That is why a comprehensive roadmap that is based on accurate baseline data, global best practices, public and private financing solutions, and stakeholder consultations is critical to our success. When I say consultations, I don't just mean getting inputs from key shelter agencies and developers. I also mean giving the people themselves who are going to occupy their homes a seat at the table. And let us tackle the need for information first. Without the right data to guide us, we will be running blind and wasting money. We need an inventory of all local government units for this. We will need to revisit the calculation of 5.7 million families. How many are in Metro Manila and other cities? How many are in the countryside? Number 2 is finding the right model that can address our unique needs. We are looking at the approaches used by Singapore, Hong Kong, and Thailand. There are also innovations already in place in Quezon City, in San Juan, in Valenzuela, that resulted from partnerships between the private sector and the local government. In Quezon City, for instance, where I just came from this morning, informal settler families used to pay anywhere from 1,500 pesos to 3,500 pesos a month to dwell in a 10 square meter space with no proper sewerage and drainage system. Through PhilMA's partnership with the Quezon City government, Pag-ibig Fund, SHAFC, and several partner NGOs, ISFs today shell out only from 1,400 pesos to 2,700 pesos as monthly amortization, either through SHAFC or Pag-ibig, for decent 26 square meter homes with loft provisions that have proper sewerage and drainage and security of tenure. In Valenzuela City, they use the concept of public rentals. You may know of other local models we can also use. Senator JV earlier just invited me to San Juan to also look at their model. Our office is definitely open to all suggestions, and we are looking forward to creating a comprehensive roadmap that takes into account even indigenous building concepts that work. No one has a monopoly of great ideas, and our role here is to listen and to bring all stakeholders together for solutions that will truly wipe out our housing crisis within 6 years. Budget, of course, will always be a problem. Over the years, a very small fraction of housing that is exempt in 2011 to 2016, when the government set aside 50 billion pesos for housing projects. Lack of funding is always a hard reality, but it should never be a reason for us to turn away from this work. It is also imperative that we streamline the processes, both in the demand and the supply side. First, we will make it a lot easier for beneficiaries of public housing to process their papers. At the moment, they have to get so many papers signed in so many different offices. We are looking at a one-stop shop concept where they can only go where they need to go to only one place, and much of the paperwork will be done by the shelter agencies themselves. Government works for the people and not the other way around. Second, we also aim to shorten and sweeten the process for our private sector partners. Very few developers find socialized housing attractive because the process is very long and very tedious. There are many things that can be simplified without reducing proper controls and setting aside prudent guidelines. We understand that 2 years is too long for many of you. That is going to change. We also understand that some tax breaks are in order to make it worthwhile for the private sector to go into socialized housing. However, take note that our metrics for measuring success will be much tougher. The time to count houses is over. Look at all the housing projects that are empty of happy families. From now on, the success of each project will be determined by how many families are happily living in their own homes and how many communities have been provided with a better way of life. And to all of you who are here this morning, remember to build communities, not just houses. We want communities with access to water and electricity, as well as public schools and clinics. We want communities where fathers and mothers can find jobs and children have spaces for play, where schools and places of worship are nearby. So we are prioritizing on-site in-city developments. If that is not possible, it must be off-site but in-city. The third priority is off-city. So ladies and gentlemen, we will stop looking at the housing crisis as simply a matter of building houses. The word urban development have been included in HADC for a reason. All of our housing projects must blend seamlessly with the development in the area. It must always be a total package solution. Otherwise, we might as well not do it at all. We will not renovate families if the homes waiting for them are not total solutions to shelter needs. That means there will be no demolitions without proper relocations. You may also be interested in our plan to aim for stiffer penalties for squatting syndicates. A few weeks ago, I went to a huge relocation site in Calauan, Laguna. Many areas still have no potable water and no jobs. Fathers spend at least 280 pesos a day to go to their place of work. If they are earning 480 pesos per day, how much money remains for them to buy food? Where is the rhyme or reason for this? Where is the right to property and liberty of abode listed under our Bill of Rights? Failure to do our jobs will also mean huge social ramifications. Those who were relocated from the Pasig River bank could not find work where they now live, so they go back to Pasig and leave their families behind. They go home once a week. Some of them don't go home anymore. Families are broken. Teenagers get pregnant early. Our social fabric is being torn apart as I speak. We do not want this in our conscience. All this may require disruption and innovation, both in the key shelter agencies and our private sector partners. For us in government, the mandate to serve our people is clear. Government must work for the people and not the other way around. For the private sector, now is the time to create business models that address social needs. Understand that this is not charitable work. Disrupt and innovate so that you create business models that make you rich no longer at the expense of the poor, but to help the poor. In other countries, companies bring the assembly line to the people in relocation sites. Mothers can make pen holders and cuddly teddy bears where they live. That is disruption and innovation that works. Here is why changing the way we do things is important. Research has shown that building nations where everyone can live and thrive and enjoy the benefits of economic growth is the best way to create even more growth. Inclusive growth is not just critical for those in the fringes of society that we have vowed to serve, but also for your businesses to grow sustainably. Profit should no longer be the sole driver for growth. Shared value should be. When there is shared value, progress happens at the top and at the bottom of society at the same time. Our country is at the cusp of something huge, as we are currently going through a demographic sweet spot. This sweet spot, where majority of the population is expected to reach their most productive stage, is the same demographic trend that caused economic growth spurts in the economies of South Korea, Singapore, and other economic tigers. We are poised to harvest the same growth from our demographic story, but only if we create growth that benefits the bottom and the poor. Companies that build homes have a unique role in this development story. Homes have a direct impact in the way families feel safe, children feel secure, and study for school, parents get enough rest for a productive day at work, and experience the benefits of progress. Your work matters a lot to our nation. So let us all do our jobs and do our jobs well, because together we will build a strong nation through happier homes. Thank you very much. Magandang umaga po muli sa inyo.